Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we are looking at another set of games here, 3 of them on Tuesday in the NBA playoffs as we roll along with some more game 2s. We have best bets up in this video, also got play props up in the other video, so make sure to subscribe to that page and continue to follow along. Also want you to head to thelines.com and use everything we have up on the site right now, including that prop finder tool to make sure you're getting the best odds available to you from all these books that are giving us bets this postseason. Nate, let's go ahead and get right into your first best bet here as we get back into that Phoenix and Minnesota game.
Yeah, game 2 here, and we're going to go to an SGP that was very successful in the playoffs last year, which is basically, let's go through the scenarios here, and no matter what, win or lose, it seems like the Suns are going to give KD and Book all the shots, and they're arguably leaning on these guys even more now this season, or at this current juncture, because the supporting cast continues to deteriorate and Grayson Allen's hurt. So for both those guys to score 25 is about plus 190 at FanDuel. And I like that more than anything else I was searching in this game. Also thought there's a correlation here that like if the Suns win, which is a big if for me and only like a quarter unit bet to involve that in any way, this game's going to go over, right? They're not going to win another 97-87 game, which happened once in 1 out of 3 of these regular season meetings. Otherwise, it was them outscoring the Wolves, kind of raining down from deep. But I just think both these guys are going to have success. I mean, KD had plenty of success in game 1. I don't think we're worried about him. He is well established in the playoffs, averaged 29 a game, even though he's basically just getting his feet wet with the Suns in the playoffs last year. Basically shared the usage with Book, which is why it's so consistent. They were both about 29-30% usage. Book was way hotter last year. Granted, like he is not the same offensive force, I guess, kind of shouldering a bigger load as the point guard, but he was able to average 34 in the playoffs last year. And you look at him bouncing back, and that's, kind of the team thought here, but specifically him after he did get to 18 points on a horrendous shooting night, 5 for 16 in game 1, bounced back in the regular season. When the Suns drop that key game against the Clips, they come back. Book has 37 points on 30% usage, granted against the Clips backups, whatever. He also had 25 points against Nola in a bounce back spot, despite going 0 for 6 from deep, doing a lot of damage at the line down the stretch. And that's key against the Wolves, right? That's one of their few weaknesses here. They did give up 25 free throws in game 1. Book is averaging 7.5 free throws his last 10 down the stretch in the season. He scored 28% of his points on the free throw line against the Wolves this year. So I just think, such a good player and enough pride to say, like, I'm not going out like this. Like, you're not just going to clown on, you're just like individually throw Alexander Walker or Jaden McDaniels on Book and just take him out of the game. Like, he's going to come right back. Last year, 38, 35, and 47 points after the Suns lost in the playoffs. And then he had 12 in the elimination game against Denver. But I think we could definitely see a scoring outburst perhaps, but at least the 25 points, which is his core prop, by the way.
Right, that's what I was just double checking. Actually, I was like, "Wait, well, this is still just his bet." Yeah, this is his props, which I'm on board with. I didn't put him in here. I wanted to. I looked at him a lot. If you use the D'Lo principle as we're recording this, the Lakers are currently still up by a few points on the Nuggets early in that one. D'Lo, after a 6 for 20 game, came back and just put on 1 for 9 from deep, hit his first 3 threes. I love that sort of angle in the playoffs moving forward. And Booker is a better player than D'Angelo Russell and is more of the focal point of this offense as well. I thought about the assists, but I think what he can control at this point is the scoring. And I do think that he wasn't receiving like strong double teams necessarily. It really was just like a bad shooting game, man. That's really just what it came down to. I definitely credit his poor performance that night much more to just a bad night than that Minnesota defense necessarily. But I'm going to move on to that Bucks and Pacers game, another game where I was like, well, look, man, like I do think there is a lot of shooting disparity here going on, and there were some adjustments made by Indy. So I'm going to take them in the first quarter alone, and they are actually favored by half a point in the first quarter. So the money line is like minus 110, taking the half a point so that you avoid the push is even money. And I just went for that, minus a half for them in the first quarter in this one against Milwaukee. Like, the shooting can't be that bad again. This Milwaukee defense is not good by any means at anything at all. So like especially the shooting, especially around the perimeter where they're a bottom 3 team in pretty much every zone of the court that is, 20, that's about 15 feet and out essentially. So the 39% field goal shooting, 21.5% for the Pacers from deep, even the 66.7% from the free throw line. They just couldn't make it from anywhere. And this is a good free throw shooting team on the season, was up in the high 70s. So there's no reason that they shouldn't get right back to there. I think they're going to come back out smoking. And I think Tyrese Halliburton is going to be a big part of that. I would consider some first quarter stuff for him, but he can drive this team passing and scoring. And I don't really want to have to bank on that, but I think I would actually lean on the first quarter, either threes or assists, if you were going to take something for Hallie to really lead this team out the gate. During the regular season, right, these are all anomalies, just to point it out. 48% from the field during the season, 30%. This is versus Milwaukee, by the way, in the 5 games they played them during the regular season, which includes that play-in stuff. They were much better. They still didn't shoot great from deep in that tournament against them, but 30%, obviously notably better than 21.5% from deep. So there's some positive regression coming for this team, no matter how you put it, especially without Milwaukee having its best defender out in Giannis. The 75 of their shots that they took were uncontested. Like, Milwaukee was happy to go under screens and just sort of play this like almost seemingly lackadaisical defense, but almost like daring them to just keep shooting, because they had a bunch of good looks and they just did not hit them, hitting 38% of their uncontested field goals, which you want that way closer to the mid 40s and high 50s if you're open in the NBA, obviously. And I also don't think the other main point here for me is I don't think they're going to play Dame the same way. We saw them switch it up from half to half. In the first half, I came out and thought that we're going to face guard him. We saw Andrew Nembhard like right out the gate in the first like half of the first quarter, really going at Dame full court, Mr. 90 feet or 92 feet, as we were calling Pat Bev. Like, he still was going, like Nembhard was doing that for the Pacers, and then stopped. And then Dame went off and had 19 points in the first quarter. And Rick Carlisle let him keep doing that in the second quarter for whatever ungodly reason. Now, Rick Carlisle wants to do that. He wants to kind of play no double teams, everybody straight up, so there's no open shots and spot up shooters. That's been his MO since he came to Indy, and really forever. But like, you can't do that against Damian Lillard. There's one guy. So he realized that in the second half and completely took the ball out of Dame's hands. He only got 5 shots up in the second half. And you can make the argument that Dame was happy with 35 points at the half and didn't need any more. I wouldn't make that argument, though. I mean, over 5 was because they forced the ball out of his hands if you were watching that game, and they started blitzing him and they started throwing double teams at him, and he didn't have a single point in the second half. And like I said, I don't think that would have happened if this game was a little bit closer. He still probably would have gotten at least 5 more shots up, let's say, right? Like, I think he still would have doubled his shot attempts in the second half at that point, but I don't think they would have been good looks. I don't think they were going to be good for him. And so the first quarter is going to be a real telltale for Rick Carlisle to be like, yo, I'm coming out with that defense that's just going to make sure he doesn't score and doesn't shoot. If he didn't go 6 for 11 in that first quarter last game, the rest of the team was 4 for 15 from the field. So he really just went crazy Dame on him. I'm not going to predict that once more, because I don't think that this Indiana defense can let him. Look, they're awful. They're one of the worst defenses to make the playoffs that I can remember. But at the same time, if you at least throw 2 to 3 guys at him and play off of the other dudes on the floor, you're going to be in a lot better shape.
Yeah, I mean, one of the themes we can look at here is a positive second half carrying over into game 2, which is kind of the look where I'm looking here with the Mavs. But for the Pacers, yeah, I mean, first quarter, first half, pretty much the same odds here. I mean, I think that they're just going to regress positively in terms of their shooting, like that they were, which we were kind of indicating with the series spread pick, that they just were kind of in over their heads with so many guys making their playoff debuts. There's some nerves in the first half, but they got some confidence there in the second half, actually able to hit shots. And so for them, yeah, to be up here at halftime, not a bad look at the end of one, or to score 55 in the first half, which is a pretty low total for a team like Indy, which is going to try to push the pace and continue to get those good shots. But as I alluded to, yes, I am taking the Mavericks -2 at the Clips here. Kawhi Leonard's status still murky. He's officially questionable. Apparently did non-contact practice on Monday, so really don't think so. But I mean, we were wondering about gamesmanship, and it turns out that Ty Lue was pulling gamesmanship in terms of like trying to get the Mavs to think he might play. Whereas Harden revealed that they knew for 2 days, they knew since Friday that Kawhi was not going to be out there, and the Clips had their own game plan in place, and they blitzed this Mavs team. I mean, Ty Lue, once again, take your hat off to him, holding a team to 8 points in the second quarter, just completely befuddling Kairuka with a mixture of coverages in the first half. And then, like I'm saying, in the second half, they combined for 47 points on 64% shooting. James Harden is a guy you look at, has some great game ones recently, and then just like completely falls off a cliff. Like game twos with Philly, 8 points on 3 for 13. He actually had 20 in Miami, disappeared later in that series, 14 points against Toronto, 5 for 28 over 2 games against Boston after he dropped 45. You remember to start that series, he shot 18% the next 2 games. And even in the second half of this game, he only had 8 points. He was a negative 16 while out there. So if you're depending on Ivica Zubac being Shaq again, and Daniel Gafford admitted that he just wasn't quite ready to play, and the Mavs just clearly like let their guard down a little bit with Kawhi out and did not come to play as a team initially here. If you're depending on Zubac and Harden to carry this offense again, like I just do not think you can match Kairuka, which is just like they were a fantastic team down the stretch, maybe playing as good as anybody in the league. We all expect them to make a run, at least have a chance to make a run, at least make this like a 6-7 game series. And so they're going to get a split here. I think we can kind of just like forecast that there's a lot of room for regression here. I mean, the Clippers also shot 50% from deep. They shot 33% without Kawhi this season, scored 4 points per game, and went 500. The Mavs are the best win percentage as road favorites in the NBA this year, 20-4. And the Clippers, as far as some consistency, they've covered in consecutive games exactly twice since the start of February. So I'm not really trusting them to back this up with game 2.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, Zubac is in a good matchup, to be honest. So I'm it's not like he's incapable of having good games again. But yeah, I mean, James Harden came out and just he did what he did last year with Philly when he just came out and he just what did we had like 40 or something when he was playing without Joel in those first 2 games, right? He had 40 like twice,
45,
like,
yeah,
45, yeah. I mean, that's fine. We know what that gets backed up with when it comes to James Harden in the playoffs. And yeah, Luka losing to the Clippers. I mean, even if they go down 2-0. I'm gonna put the house on them in game 3 because of Luka. So I can see it happening this game. I can see it happening game 3. If they go down 2-0, I'm still not gonna say they're gonna lose this series by any means. Like I might even just find a go this series goes 7 bet to place or something because it's Luka versus the Clippers. End of discussion. It's not over until that man decides that he's just not going to play anymore, and he's going to be doing superhuman stuff probably in this game and at the very least in game 3. So I'm with you on this one for this game. I'm not scared of it at all. Like I think that was the complete outlier. And even if Kawhi comes back with the way that it seems like he's basically doubtful and he does manage to play, I'm not going to buy into being able to do superhuman stuff to drag this team up even further. So yeah, I'm with you on the Mavs in this one, and I'm going to do my favorite thing to do here and close out this portion of our bests with a player prop for Jusuf Nurkic, and that's mostly because I didn't want to have to go diving into some of the more creative bets, and I feel like we've got a good hold on these first couple of games here that we're talking about overall. But for the Suns and Nurkic, under 23.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Like this just ain't his series. I was talking to you a second ago and just saying that you were like, well, do you think he's really going to get pulled and they're going to go small? Because that is one of my arguments for like why he will likely go under is that's a possibility. I don't know if it's for sure, but it's a nice little thing to have in our back pocket that's always a possibility. That in 2 separate games versus the Suns this year, he went cleanly under his minutes average on the season, where he's at about 27.5 minutes. One of them was 24 minutes, another with like 22 minutes against this team. So when he's going to be playing at that amount of minutes, I don't like him to get 24 PRA. I really don't like him to get rebounds and points in general, to be honest with you. And I did like, I actually thought maybe he would come out and dime up a bit more in this last game, which he didn't really have a chance to, but I'm happy to add the couple of assists onto this bet for him to go under as well. He's averaging 15 PRA. He's gone over once in the 4 meetings he's had now with this team, including this playoff game. And the only game that he went over, there was no Cat in there, and Rudy played limited minutes, so it was like a much different situation. But Cat being down low, like I've been saying it for a long time this season, which is like, Cat looks good on defense this year and is not the liability that he's been. And that I think that kind of continues to show. Like they were really, really dominant down low with him in this last game, and it's a big reason why they continue to be number 1 against centers. and everything that Nurk wants to do. They actually had a stretch when Cat was out where they were not in the top 10 in terms of limiting centers points and rebounds. And that was, for like a 15-day period, but it was still enough of time to be like, wow, the Wolves are not as good as they were without Cat down low. Who would have thought it? And I think the minutes and everything else, I don't have to dive deeply into like Minnesota limiting points, rebounds, and assists to centers. I don't think they're top 5 in all of it. And it's going to continue to be the strength of what they do. And I don't think they're going to need to, that Rudy is going to be run off the court in this series. Like, I don't think he's going to be run off the court in any series. If anything, Cat might need to take a little bit of a back seat, but that would only be if the Suns decide to go small. And if they decide to go small, then I guess who's not in the game, right? Yusuf Nurkic. And now without Grayson Allen, I do think it's a little bit less likely. And I'm not saying he's out, but Grayson Allen is hurt and questionable for this game. And if he's not in there, they do like him as a really good undersized rebounder. So I could see that going against my Nurk might play less minutes bet, but or thought process. But even if he does play 26 minutes in this game, which is about what he averages, a little bit more than what he averages against the Timberwolves, I don't think that's enough based on the rates at which he's getting points, rebounds, and assists per minute. It's like 0.12 or whatever against this team, or 0.21 or whatever against this team in the amount of times he's playing. So yeah, that's not going to be enough unless he played like 35 minutes, which there's just not a world in which I see Nurk durable and helpful enough for that amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, you're really trying to read the tea leaves in terms of like what you're crawling inside Frank Vogel's head, I guess. And it's like, is he going to play? Is he going to go small? Is he going to try to exploit the Wolves that way? Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I would just fade the points, I guess, with Nurk because yeah, he's not necessarily out there looking to shoot unless it's a favorable matchup. He's a terrible finisher around the rim, and he's going up against Gobert, who will not allow a good field goal percentage, but. I mean, he's been very effective in his minutes in terms of rebounding the ball and distributing when they've played the Wolves and just being that hub that they were able to play around. I don't understand why they yanked him.
Sorry, I have to ask, what do you mean by he's done a good job rebounding? He has one game with 15 boards, and the rest he has 8, 5, 5, and 4.
Yeah, on a permanent basis, though. I mean, we played 20 minutes in the last one. He was a plus 20, and they yanked him, to kind of just like keep pouring on with the small ball. But that did not work at all in game one. So I just think maybe they do have to lean on him a little bit. I don't know. I'm just saying it could go one of two ways here. But yeah, there's more ways to cash this under. I understand where your head's at. Like there are different scenarios where he definitely does not put up a lot of stats.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, you don't have to agree with it either. But yeah, there's always going to be one of two ways that this could go. It's either over or under for sure. And I'm going with the under there. But that is all the time that we have for you guys with best bets and what I proclaim to also be best bets with some player props. Continue to follow along. Check out our player props video that we are bringing you guys as we move along each and every day that we have these playoff games moving forward. So until we see you next, happy betting.